Okay, so there's a lot of talk about the election. The election's drawing closer. So I'm going to do a preliminary election prediction on the presidential race. Before I do that, real quick, I expect the Republicans to keep the House and take the Senate. I think Republicans will win a couple of, they'll get, Republicans will be like 52 to 48. Of course, I know there's the independents. The independents tend to side with Democrats. But anyway, as far as the presidency, if it was a fair election, even with the manipulation of perceptions with big tech and legacy media, even despite that, I think Trump would win by a huge margin. He would win by almost a landslide. Of course, it's not going to be a fair election. I've said this many times before, and we still have time enough for an October surprise. Now, I predicted in the beginning of the year that there will be terrorist attacks of people dressing up as Trump supporters, shooting up a black church, for example. I think that's still in the cards. I absolutely would not put that past the legacy establishment to pull something like that a week, or days, before the actual election day. Assuming that doesn't happen, and assuming that, going forward with the fortifications that we have in states like Michigan, there's some fortification in Texas. With that said, state by state, a lot of the states that you would expect to be blue will be blue, like California, Colorado, Massachusetts, Washington, Hawaii, etc. And the red states, the typical red states will be red. The Midwest, like Oklahoma to North Dakota, Utah, Idaho, South Carolina, etc. will be red. Ohio, Florida, Iowa are not going to be swing states this cycle. Florida is defortified, and it has been trending right for some time. I think Trump will win by possibly double digits. In fact, if he won by as much as 15%, that would be a very high margin, but I actually don't think that that's out of the question. He'll win by at least 8. 10, I think, is very likely. Texas, I think he'll win Texas, but not by very much, maybe by a few points. There'll be a lot of shenanigans. There'll be efforts to try to flip Texas blue. And if they do that, then Harris would win the election. Would not put that past them. The states that we're going to talk a lot about, Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Virginia. Virginia is fortified enough in the northern counties. I think it'll be really close. If it was a fair election, I think Trump would probably win Virginia. It's possible that he could win Virginia. I just don't think it's likely. Same thing with a state like Minnesota. The Minneapolis-St. Paul area, that's the problem. I don't think he's going to flip that, despite the fact that there's a lot of Muslim voters in that area that would normally vote Democrat. They're not going to be voting at all. And Minnesota has been trending a bit right, little by little, over every election cycle. That said, I don't think it's likely he's going to win Minnesota. Michigan has been fortified. Trump in the polls has a lead in Michigan. I think it's something like by 1%. However, given that it's fortified, given how desperate the establishment is, I don't think he's going to win Michigan. He may win Michigan. It's not out of the question. I just don't think that's likely either, like I said, given the fortifications. I think Pennsylvania, he is likely to win Pennsylvania. I think it'll be too much of a landslide for them to cheat. They're going to try to keep Pennsylvania blue. I think it's by too much. I think Trump will end up winning Pennsylvania. Same thing in North Carolina. I think he's got enough support there. Arizona's a toss-up. Maricopa County, there is still the problem with that governor, which I forgot her name, and the supervisor of elections. The last gubernatorial race that was with her and Kari Lake, and the candidate for governor, the Democrat, and the name slips my mind, but she was also acting as the attorney general, I believe, or the supervisor of election or something like that. It was the fox guarding the hen house, and we saw how that turned out. Carrie Lake probably actually won that election, but nonetheless, again, we have this problem in Arizona. So Maricopa County, who knows? I think Trump has a lot of has the votes. I think in a fair election, he would definitely win by several points. But again, it's kind of a toss-up. I suspect that there's enough of a landslide there that he'll end up winning Arizona anyway. But again, who knows? Let's go to Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin's been somewhat defortified. I think Trump's got a decent chance in Wisconsin. The polls show that it's basically a dead heat in that state. Again, the landslide will be enough where I think he'll end up winning it, but it'll be a squeaker. You know, he'll win by a couple of points, I think, there. He could pick up New Hampshire. He'll win the second congressional district in Maine. Nevada, it's kind of hard to say. There's always a lot of cheating right there in Clark County. He may win. Who knows? But I give that a 50-50 toss-up. In Georgia, that's a tough one. There's been a lot of defortification in Georgia, but the demographics around Atlanta has changed quite a bit. So that one is really up in the air as well. I suspect that he's going to end up winning that just because of black support. A lot of young black men have shifted towards Trump. There is also not a lot of enthusiasm for the Democrats anyway. I think that he pulls off Georgia by a small margin. I think Trump ends up winning the election. There's going to be a ton of shenanigans. There's going to be a lot of attempts at cheating. But I don't think it's going to be enough this time. Now, who knows? You know, the establishment may try to pull a false flag ahead just days before the election. That is very much a possibility. You know, they got too much to lose to just lose it. I think at this point, probably the best strategy is to let Trump win and then create a disaster like an economic depression during his administration, and then blame it on Trump, and then try to shift the politics in America. I think that's a risky move. There's no guarantee that that would work, but I think that's what they're going to go. But I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, that's my preliminary analysis. I'll have some more as the election day actually draws nearer.